Hey friends, we're going to talk about the 7 things that actually help dogs that have valley fever related seizures. And this is for pet parents whose dog has valley fever and is having neurological symptoms, including seizures. And it may also be for veterinarians that are seeing these dogs as patients and are frustrated because their patients aren't getting better very fast and things are just getting dragged on, or worsening, which happens. And they have no other tools in their toolbox besides conventional medicine. So, we're going to talk about some things that are practical, research backed, actionable steps. So, not just theory. Conventional medicine is necessary, but it's incomplete. So, this is going to give you some ideas about what you can do, and for veterinarians, also what you can do. You have more tools than you know about, and your vet may not know about them either. In fact, if they're a conventional only veterinarian, they probably don't. So, veterinarians and pet parents, take notes. So, just a quick recap on valley fever. So, valley fever starts in the lungs. And when the immune system can't contain it, it spreads to other places, like the frickin' brain, right? Like the brain. And when it spreads to the brain, it causes inflammation and it commonly results in seizures. There are other things that can happen when inflammation hits the brain, or valley fever, the valley fever fungus hits the brain or gets in the brain. But we're going to talk about seizures today. And seizures look like, a lot of people know what a grand mal seizure looks like. That's the obvious one. That's the full body convulsions, the jerking of the legs, the loss of consciousness, pooping, peeing, salivating, the whole thing. It's scary. But there are also real subtle neurological signs that a lot of people miss. So things like fly catching behavior, where a dog will pretend like, or not pretend, but act like he's catching a fly, or chewing gum movements. They literally look like they're chewing gum, and that can be a seizure. That can be a very small seizure. They can have loss of balance, which is a vestibular sign, and that's commonly confused with old dog vestibular disease. They can have behavioral changes. They can seem kind of out there, like absent mentally. And then if it affects let me turn my volume down. When it affects the peripheral nerves, it can cause muscle twitching. And that actually happened to me when I had valley fever. I started getting a twitch on my face. And as soon as I got the valley fever more under control, it went away. And then I could always tell when my valley fever was increasing because I would get that twitch back. And I knew I had to make some changes. All right. So seizures sometimes are the first symptom. So even though valley fever signs start from the lungs, and that you see like lethargy, coughing, weight loss, maybe swollen glands, not wanting to eat. Sometimes these are vague, and sometimes they're so mild they get easily missed. So sometimes a seizure is the first symptom that a pet parent will recognize. And dogs that are in the Southwest United States, or basically the Western United States, should be tested for valley fever, along with all the other lab work that we do for dogs with new seizures. So that I have a ton of information in my book called Conquering Valley Fever. And you can get the instant download and my toolkit with lots of information on both conventional and holistic therapies for valley fever, and a whole reference section in the back on herbal medicine. So that's something that could be helpful for you. So just scan the QR code, or if you're on your phone, I will put the link under the video when I'm done. All right. So conventional medicine. Conventional medicine is fast acting. It's necessary for immediate control of the symptoms and the valley fever fungus. Fluconazole is the drug of choice for valley fever related seizures because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's the first one we reach for anyway. It's cost effective at this time, and it's an essential part of treatment of valley fever seizures. Conventional care also will include anti-seizure medication. So things like phenobarbital or Keppra, zonisamide, potassium bromide. We have to manage the seizures themselves because every seizure your dog has damages the brain more and more and more. And that's not a good thing. Brain cells need to be alive. The other thing conventional medicine will sometimes, in fact, a lot of times do with dogs with valley fever in the brain is put them on prednisone. Prednisone is a really strong anti-inflammatory, and it brings the brain inflammation down, along with treating the actual fungus with fluconazole and then the anti-seizure drugs. But there are gaps because conventional medicine slows the fungus. Fluconazole doesn't kill the fungus, it just slows it down. Conventional medicine manages the symptoms. Nothing that we talked about so far with conventional therapies will rebuild the brain or the neurons in the brain or address the underlying inflammation and the immune suppression that's driving this problem, the seizures and the valley fever fungal infection. So medications may be making things better as far as the fluconazole, the anti-seizure drugs, and prednisone, but there are other medications that may be making things worse. So there are pharmaceuticals that will decrease the seizure threshold, meaning your dog has more of a chance of seizuring because the pharmaceutical has dropped that threshold down, and your dog will seizure easier when they're on these medications. One of them is heartworm preventatives. So most heartworm preventatives are macrocyclic lactones, and HeartGuard, ivermectin, Interceptor, Trifexis, ProHeart injections, Simparica Trio, like they're all macrocyclic lactones. So they all lower the seizure threshold. So you have to rethink that if you're giving heartworm prevention. And it's a gray zone. The other medication or pharmaceutical that will lower the seizure threshold and the side effect of this one is seizures. So Rimadyl or carprofen is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, usually prescribed for arthritis or post-op pains, things like that. But if you read the insert from the drug label insert, seizures are a side effect. And I have seen several dogs, even dogs that didn't have a history of seizures. I've had several dogs seizure when they took Rimadyl. The other one is the isoxazoline flea and tick preventatives. So on the label, there's an FDA warning that they cause seizures and tremors, and they do a lot. It's not a rare side effect. It is a side effect. So Bravecto, NexGard, Simparica, Credelio. So let's talk about an integrative protocol. So what to add? So an integrated protocol takes conventional therapy like the fluconazole, the anti-seizure medications, prednisone, and combines it with holistic or natural therapies that are research backed. So the holistic therapies work alongside the conventional treatment, not instead of it. So we're going to go through 7 things. So number 1 is diet. Diet is, or a healthy diet is the foundation of health. So kibble and ultra-processed canned food produces inflammatory compounds, which then feeds the fire. It just fans the flames of the inflammation in the brain that's causing seizures. So a foundational fresh food diet is not optional. It is absolutely required. And the interesting thing is that diet can cause seizures if the dog is allergic to a food in the diet. So there's actually research on that. Let me show you a couple of my favorite foods in case you're wondering. Let's see. This is one of them. This is Dr. Judy Morgan's All Provide. She formulated this one. Her signature pup loaf is in here, and then she has other flavors too. They're all balanced and frozen fresh foods, raw or gently cooked. This is what my dogs eat. They love it. And then Dr. Karen Becker and Dr. Barbara Royale formulated Raised Right, which is also an excellent fresh food diet that's frozen. Okay. So gut health is number 2, which is kind of related to diet. And the connection here is 70 to 85% of the immune system lives in the gut. So the gut microbiome will directly influence the brain microbiome through the gut-brain axis. So we've known that there is a link between how healthy the gut microbiome is, and that will affect the brain. But did you know that they actually found normal bacteria in the brain? So now they've discovered that the researchers have discovered that there's a brain microbiome. And so if you think about it, if the gut microbiome is in balance, then the other microbiomes in the body are in balance. So that's kind of how we measure the microbiomes in other places, like the brain, or the skin has a microbiome. The kidneys and the bladder have a normal bacterial population or microbiome. And dogs on probiotics with a healthy microbiome in the gut have fewer seizures. That's how important it is. And like I said, food sensitivities, which can cause leaky gut, even without obvious intestinal or GI symptoms, can trigger seizures. Let me pull up a test for food sensitivities. This is a cool test. It's a saliva test, and you just swab the mouth with a cotton wick and get some saliva and squeegee it into a little vial. You just need a little bit, and you send it in, and you can find out what your dog is sensitive or allergic to, which is not really the same thing, but that's an easy way to talk about it. All right. So with probiotics, that is a core supplement for a dog with valley fever and seizures. And literally, it's a core supplement for any dog, honestly, especially a dog with any kind of illness, any kind of chronic disease, because we know that things are not right in the gut if we have chronic disease or your dog has chronic disease. And so with probiotics, we rotate probiotics because we don't want to give the same one all the time, because we want diversity in the microbiome in the gut. So we rotate our brand. So what I usually do with dogs is I'll do one brand, and then when I'm done with that, I'll go to another one, and I just rotate as I finish the bottle. The other thing I'll put these guys on are digestive enzymes to help them digest their food better. And you can consider even testing the microbiome of the gut with a poop test. I have an animal biome. I like animal biome. I really like how they present the results. They're really detailed, and then they tell you what's missing and what your pet needs. Let me see if I can find it. All right, I can't find it. My microbiome test. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is the animal biome microbiome test. It's another test you can do at home. It's a poop sample and you send it in. And it tells you if your dog's microbiome in the gut is balanced or not. And if it's not balanced, it tells you where the problem is and how to fix it. And if your dog's microbiome in the gut is not balanced, then the microbiome in the brain is not balanced either. So that's really important for a dog with seizures and a dog with valley fever. So the third thing that will help is omega-3 fatty acids like fish oil, EPA and DHA. This is another core supplement. The brain is made up of a lot of fat, and fatty acids or fish oil containing EPA and DHA are anti-inflammatory for the brain tissue. So that is a core supplement because we have a lot of inflammation in the brain if your dog is seizuring, if there's valley fever fungus in the brain. So we want to reduce the inflammation, and fish oil is inexpensive and relatively easy to give. The fourth thing is CBD. So CBD oil is effective for seizures. I have had patients that was literally the only supplement they got, and they got better. All mammals have an endocannabinoid system wired to respond to CBD. So there are receptors all over the body for the endocannabinoids, and CBD will fill those receptors and help different parts of the body. And there are a lot of receptors in the nervous system. There was a study done at Colorado State University. It was a randomized controlled trial, and they found that 89% of dogs that received CBD had reduced seizure frequency. 89%. That's fabulous. Oh, let me show you my favorite CBD, or one of my favorites. I have two, but this is one. This is CBD for dogs. This is the Heal CBD. This is nice for dogs with seizures and valley fever for that matter, because it helps the immune system as well. All right. So the other thing, number 5, are medicinal mushrooms. Medicinal mushrooms are immunomodulatory, which means they modulate the immune system. They take an immune system that's suppressed and brings it up to a normal level or balances it. It will also help with an overstimulated immune system, like an autoimmune kind of a condition, and bring that immune system down to a normal level. Mushrooms are really intelligent. Did you know that mushrooms on the tree of life, they're phylogenetically more related to us than they are to plants? Is that weird or what? We're related to mushrooms closer than trees and flowers are related to mushrooms. So weird. Yeah. But with mushrooms, the mushroom of choice for brain disease or nervous system disease is lion's mane. Lion's mane mushrooms excels at at building, it helps rebuild the nervous system, the nerves. It stimulates nerve growth factor as well as brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. And these are compounds that grow, repair, and maintain brain tissue. Lion's mane mushrooms also supports myelination, which is the protective coating around nerves, kind of like the insulation on the electric wire. And you definitely want to use the fruiting bodies. You don't want to use mycelium grown on grain because the mycelium does not have a lot of the chemical constituents that we need for helping the nervous system. It's in actually the top of the mushroom, the fruiting body, they call it. Let me show you my seizure bundle. I actually have a bundle of supplements, and it has the lion's mane mushrooms in there. It's got some probiotics in there. It's got omega-3 fatty acids in there. And it's also got ashwagandha in there, which is an herbal support for brains or seizures or neurological problems. And that's number 6. So herbs and herbal formulas. So ashwagandha is neuroprotective. I have little treats that you can feed your dog. So it's fairly easy to give. There are other types of ashwagandha like powders and capsules, or even liquid if that's easier. But I think most dogs it's easier to give a treat because we want to make it really easy for them to take medicine because we don't want to stress them out even more than they already are. So ashwagandha is a wonderful herb that protects and even helps regenerate brain tissue. So it's neuroprotective as well as other stuff. And I think we talked about ashwagandha several videos ago. But with herbs, I like to use formulas. So individual herbs have their place, and ashwagandha is a nice treat, and it's an addition to what you're already giving. But an herbal formula is powerful medicine. So a formula are a group of herbs put together. They're carefully combined, and they work synergistically, which means they cooperate within the herb. So each herb adds something to the formula and increases the effectiveness of the individual herbs. So a formula is stronger than giving all the herbs individually because there's synergy. And the synergy affects not only the brain, it affects multiple systems in the body at the same time. Because while we're dealing with brain disease, with valley fever seizures, with the dog with seizures related to valley fever, there's more going on in the body than just the brain problem, right? We've got other things going on, and the valley fever is likely not just in the brain. So we want to look at the whole body, and we want to treat the whole body. And the key with the herbal formulas is every dog's seizure pattern with valley fever or with any cause of seizures will be different. So each dog will have a different pattern of disharmony in the body. You may have a dog that's overheated, restless, crazy, and excessive and has violent seizures. And that dog will need a different formula than a dog with a valley fever seizures that's weak and shut down and depleted and exhausted. So you can't use the same formula on both of those patients or both of those dogs because they either won't work or they'll cause side effects. So the common seizure formulas that I use, and there are a lot of seizure herbal formulas, because we have different patterns of disharmony and different combination of herbs in formulas depending on what we need, and we can modify things. So they depend on the individual. But what I find myself using a lot is one is a combination of 2 herbal formulas. So this is a big protocol. So I'll use Chaihu Jia Longu Muli Tong. Dr. Steve Marsden calls it Chaihu blah, 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 because it's such a long name. But Chaihu Jia Longu Muli Tong stabilizes neuronal membrane excitability, which means it calms down the brain. And research shows that it inhibits glutamate, which is a primary excitatory neurotransmitter that drives seizures. And one of the herbs in it is skullcap, which is really interesting because skullcap is great for calming the brain, but it's also fungicidal, which means it kills valley fever. So if you think about it, the fluconazole is fungistatic, which means it slows down the valley fever, kind of wounds it, but it doesn't kill it. So this particular herbal formula that we use for seizures has an herb. It actually has more than one herb that does this. It has a fungicidal herb that actually kills the fungus. The compound in skullcap is called bicolin, and that triggers cellular apoptosis, or programmed cell death of fungal cells. It's also hepatoprotective, so the formula protects the liver, which is something we always worry about with fluconazole. Fluconazole affects the liver. And then there's another herb in there that's fungicidal, which is ginger. That's like a really common herb, and people think it's a wimpy herb. It freaking kills fungal cells. So it's amazing. So I take the Chaihu Jia Longu Muli Tong and I combine it with Long Don Shagon Tong. And this is actually a combination that I learned from Dr. Steve Marsden. And it's usually for the dogs that are really hot, with a lot of heat. And you'll see that a lot with dogs with valley fever, because valley fever is a heat toxin in Chinese medicine. It generates a lot of heat in the body. So the Long Don Shagon Tong mixed with the Chaihu Jia Longu Muli Tong is a great combination for valley fever related seizures in dogs. This one, the Long Don Shagon Tong, is also great for liver problems. So elevated liver enzymes from fluconazole. And it's got fungicidal herbs in it. It's got licorice, which kills fungal cells. It's freaking awesome stuff. The other herbal formula that I find very useful with dogs with valley fever related seizures is called Ditong. And these guys have a lot of inflammation. They usually have signs of phlegm or dampness. And phlegm or dampness is things like being overweight, having lipomas, having mucousy discharges, coughing up phlegm, having a greasy hair coat. Those are all signs of dampness or phlegm. And with Ditong, I find that these dogs are kind of on the high-strung side. They can be aggressive. They can be, a lot. They can be kind of too much or bossy. And they have big grand mal seizures with foaming and vocalization and loss of consciousness. They're the guys with the big seizures. So Ditong is a nice one for these guys. It also, bonus, contains fungicidal herbs. So herbs that will kill the valley fever fungus, like ginger and licorice. The other thing I'll do is, and this one is not for seizures necessarily, but I'll add a formula that is strongly antifungal or fungicidal that will kill the fungus, because You can't get rid of the seizures unless you get rid of the valley fever, because the valley fever is causing the inflammation, which is causing the seizures, right? So to get rid of the seizures, you have to address the valley fever fungal infection effectively. And with the azoles like fluconazole, those are fungus static. They slow the fungus. They don't kill it. Your dog's immune system has to kick in and kill the fungus. And a lot of times your dog's immune system is crappy because it was crappy. That's why they got the infection in the first place, because their immune system wasn't good. So we know their immune system is crappy. So I actually have a custom tincture called Canine Valley Fever Support Tincture that is antifungal and fungicidal and has a lot of other benefits. It supports the immune system. It's hepatoprotective. It's got great qualities. And the fungicidal herbs in it are usnea and isatis, which are amazing. So it's a nice formula that stimulates the immune system. It's antioxidant. It's anti-inflammatory, which we need. It can reduce seizures. It's amazing. It even has herbs in there for pain. So it helps the dog relax, and it improves heart function. It helps with indigestion. Like the herbs in this combination are just amazing. And they help clear that valley fever infection so that we can get rid of the seizures. Oh, let me grab a link to that. Oh my gosh, do I even have a link to that? Let me see. There it is. Okay. So there's the Canine Valley Fever Support Tincture and a QR code for a link to get that. You don't need much. It's like a drop per pound. Like it's not even a lot for a dose. So it's not hard to give by mouth or putting it in a treat. So with herbal medicine, like I was saying, different dogs will need different combination of herbs. And these are, I went through a few general ones that I commonly use, but your dog might be different. So it's really important that you work with a veterinary herbalist or an integrative or holistic veterinarian who can properly diagnose your dog with the pattern. It's not a conventional diagnosis, but it's a pattern diagnosis to figure out what herbs and other holistic strategies we can use. And if you need help, I have pet health strategy sessions where we just jump on a Zoom call and kind of troubleshoot things. I'm going to see if I can find that link. There it is. We jump on a Zoom, we talk about your dog, we figure out, what your dog is already on, what you're feeding, and the best next steps for your dog to get better. Because a lot of dogs with valley fever, especially valley fever seizures, that's severe. It can be fatal. It's life-threatening. So you have to jump on it quickly, and you have to really do all the things you possibly can to help get everything cleared up. So I help you figure out what your next steps are, what supplements you may be missing, what herbs may be appropriate. So we just talk about that in general. It's not a deep dive in the records or anything, but it's a troubleshooting Zoom call with me. All right. And then number seven is acupuncture. And as an acupuncturist, I can tell you that acupuncture is effective for seizures. It's also effective to support the immune system for valley fever. And there is research to show this. So acupuncture actually increases those inhibitory neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters, it inhibits the ones that are too excitatory, like that are firing off when they shouldn't, which is what a seizure is. So it decreases those excitatory neurotransmitters like GABA, glycine, taurine. Yes. The thing with acupuncture is there are some dogs that are great with acupuncture and enjoy it and relax and all that. And there are some dogs that really don't appreciate it. So you have to choose the right modality for your pet. If your pet is a nervous wreck when they go into a clinic, that may not be the best thing. You may want to get a house call vet that comes to you to do the acupuncture. Some dogs I have found I can do needles with, and other dogs I can't. So I actually do laser acupuncture, where I stimulate the acupuncture point with the laser, which I don't even have to touch the dog to do. And I get the same result. So there are different ways to do acupuncture on a dog to help with seizures, as well as supporting the immune system. And usually we do acupuncture every week or two until the seizures are controlled, and then move to monthly. And to find a veterinary acupuncturist that's certified in acupuncture for pets or animals, there are different certifications for veterinarians for acupuncture. You would go on www.ivas.com, which is International Veterinary Acupuncture Society. No, it's not .com, it's .org. ivas.org, ivas.org. Sorry about that. All right, so we talked about what to do. So along with the conventional medications, we want to add some holistic strategies, some core supplements, and core and modalities, and also some targeted modalities like herbal formulas. But there are things you can eliminate that will help control the seizures. So we really want to reduce the total toxic load that your dog is exposed to. So when their brain is in crisis, we want to remove every unnecessary burden. So things like vaccines, we want to hold off on vaccines. We want to run antibody titers instead if you're worried, especially of the rabies vaccine, because that's a neurological vaccine. So that will actually worsen neurological problems if you give it with the dog that already has neurological problems. We want to reduce exposure to household toxins, and this will help you too. So the scented candles, the synthetic air fresheners like Febreze, the fragrance laundry detergents, these all lower the seizure threshold in seizure-prone dogs. Lawn chemicals and pesticides. So glyphosate disrupts the gut microbiome, damages the intestinal lining, and they're neurotoxins. So when a dog walks on treated grass and licks their paws, or walks in the areas where your bug guy sprayed, your dog is exposed to these chemicals and pesticides, and they are neurotoxins. That is really a bad thing. Water. We definitely want to give our pets filtered water just like we drink. Tap water contains fluoride, chlorine, heavy metals, pharmaceutical residues. It's really unhealthy. So always give your pet filtered water. And then, like we talked about, we need to rethink our pharmaceutical pesticides, heartworm preventatives, flea and tick preventatives. We at least want to temporarily eliminate those while your pet is undergoing treatment, because they are neurotoxins and they will cause more seizures. For an emergency tool, so what's an emergency? An emergency with a dog with a valley fever related seizure is a seizure that lasts more than 5 minutes. That's bad. You need to go to the emergency clinic if that happens. The other reason to go to the emergency clinic is if your dog has more than 2 seizures in a single day. So if they start to have back-to-back seizures, that's a bad thing. They need to go to the ER because they definitely need intervention, because whatever you're doing is not controlling things. And the worst case scenario is your dog will start seizuring over and over and over and not stop. That can lead to death. So some pet parents can kind of read their dog and know when they're going to seizure. It's like the aura or the pre-seizure signs. They might get clingy, or they might get restless, or they might kind of get drunk or wobbly. They might start staring off into space, or really any unusual behavior. Your dog might show you these things before an episode. So what you can do prior to a seizure, when you see that pre-ictal or oral pre-oral period, or even during a seizure, if you can actually stimulate the vagal nerve on your dog, which will help stop or slow or make that seizure less. And the way you do this is you apply pressure to the eyelids. So with the closed eyelids, you apply gentle pressure to their eyes for about 10 to 60 seconds. And that stimulates the vagal nerve and reduces the severity and duration of the seizure episode. And you can repeat this every 5 minutes if you have to. If you're on the way to the ER with your dog, do that every 5 minutes. Just keep putting gentle pressure on the eyeballs to try to stimulate that vagal nerve. And you can do that when you kind of see a seizure coming on, if you can recognize that, or during a seizure, if you can reach that location. Sometimes that's not easy, but if you can. The other thing that you can do is start a seizure journal. So you want to note the date, the time of day, how long they are, what the seizure looked like. And you also want to note what happened before. So what food they were eating that day, what treats, were there unusual noises or stressful events? Was there a recent vaccination? Did you start new products in the home, or maybe a new medication or a new supplement? You want to note all those things. So once you have a lot of information, you can actually look back and try to see patterns, because maybe something in particular is triggering a seizure. And you look at things like, oh, that monthly heartworm preventative. Soon as I give that on this day of the month, a seizure occurs a few days later. All right, so valley fever seizures are serious, and conventional medicine is essential. So we want to do an integrative approach. We want to keep our conventional medications because they're fast acting, but we want to add holistic modalities or holistic strategies to the conventional protocol. The other thing we want to do is we want to monitor. We want to have regular blood work done, including titer rechecks, because you can't manage what you're not measuring. You have to know how things are going. Is it getting worse? Are things getting better? And your log will help too. So when you keep documentation on the seizures, that will also tell you if things are getting better. Diet, gut health, the toxic load your dog is exposed to are all part of the picture, but they all have solutions, and we talked about those. So a dog with valley fever related seizures requires a multi-pronged commitment. There's no single fix. There's no magic herb. There's no magic protocol, because every dog will have a different pattern of disharmony. But when you address all these core supplements together and strategies like acupuncture and do as many of these things as you can. Maybe test for food allergies, check their microbiome, do the probiotics, do the CBD, like everything you can. When we do all this together with the conventional therapies, the results can be remarkable. So the next steps would be rethink the heart guard, the Rimadyl, the flea and tick preventatives. Think about that because those are all neurotoxic. Start your seizure journal so you can log things and figure out your dog's pattern. See if there's something specific triggering besides the valley fever, because we know that's an issue here because I'm assuming tested for it and you know it's there. But there may be complicating factors that are making that worse. Transition to fresh food if you haven't already. That is foundational with these guys. Add probiotics, omega-3 fatty acids, lion's mane mushrooms, CBD. That's a starting point. And then find a holistic or integrative vet to do acupuncture at www.ivas.org, IVAS.org. The other thing you can do is enroll in my Rescue Your Dog from Valley Fever online program. It's a DIY step-by-step program to help you resolve your dog's valley fever. And it goes over all the supplements and all the herbs and all the strategies in more detail than we just did, honestly. Let me find that. Rescue Your Dog from Valley Fever. There it is. All right, there's a link to my program. So for all you that want kind of a DIY thing with a lot of information, that you can watch the videos one at a time and kind of, or you can jump around and watch the videos. But there are a lot of references and there's a workbook and like cheat sheets and links to really helpful products that can help you. All right. And then don't forget my book, Conquering Valley Fever, A Tactical Guide for Dogs and Their Humans. Let me see. Let me grab it. I also should put the link up, huh? All right. So I wrote a book about valley fever in dogs, and it has some information on conventional therapies, as well as a lot of holistic information. All right, I'm trying to find my book, my link. There we go. So you can get it on Amazon, the actual book, the hardcover or the paperback. But I also have an instant download for $9.99. So if you go to the QR code or to conqueringvalleyfever.com, you can get the instant download and a toolkit that will help you help your dog. But there is information on conventional therapies in here. And there are holistic strategies, and I go into a lot of detail on the holistic strategies. And I've got some of my patients in here that I've taken care of and their stories. And at the end of each chapter, I have what I did because I've had valley fever twice. It is not true that once you've had valley fever, you can't get it again. You can. I've had it twice. And I go over all the things that I did for myself. So there's a human element in here. So I not only write about how I treat dogs with valley fever, but I also write about what I did as a valley fever survivor. And then in the back, there's a whole section on herbs, all the research, not all of them. There are more than this, but all the common herbs that are used for fungal infections and the research associated with them and what part of the herb you use, and just some really fun information on herbal medicine. Yeah, but that's a great resource for pet parents and for people alike that are concerned about valley fever. Okay. All right. So, my book is very helpful. My Rescue Your Dog from Valley Fever program is great for people who want a DIY, more in-depth, step-by-step instruction. But some of you may have a dog that you've tried everything, and maybe you've tried some of the stuff that I've already talked about, and your dog has plateaued and they're still seizuring, and you feel like there's just something missing and you don't know what it is. That's where my telehealth consults come in, which are Zoom calls that we jump on. But before we jump on the Zoom call, I actually have you send me all your pets' records, and I go through their records with a fine-tooth comb, and I figure out what's been done, what hasn't been done. I look at what you've done also, aside from the conventional stuff that your veterinarian has recommended, because likely you're doing things too. And I figure out where the gaps are in your pet's treatment of valley fever related seizures or valley fever, and figure out what we can do better to get your dog over that hump. And it may be something conventional, or it may be something holistic, because I look at both areas, because I'm, a conventional trained veterinarian, but then I went and specialized in holistic care. So I can look at it from both sides and do a second opinion and figure out what we're missing to get your dog better and cleared of valley fever, because that's possible. And that's my QR code for a telehealth consultation. All right. So next week, next week's going to be interesting. I am going to do a video, but I won't have a live chat going. So you'll have to put your questions in the comments under the video, because I'm going to be en route. I'm going to be driving my car with my 2 puppies to northern Idaho to spend a couple months out of the Phoenix heat in a cooler location and kick back a little bit. But I'll still be working, still be doing these videos, and as long as I have good connections. I'm kind of worried about that. And I will still be doing consults, even though I'll be in a little cabin up in northern Idaho. All right. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for listening. And I will see you next week.